Hi, I'm Alex. I look after people experience here at ShopBack. That entails people engagement, learning and development, and to some extent mental wellness as well in the team here. Culture is not something you can control entirely, but I think there are hopes that we have in terms of what we want to have at the company, right? I remember when we first, rather before the pandemic, we had sort of an office-only policy, right? Everyone came into the office, and we really believed actually in the value of that human connection, right? And making sure the pace was fast and people had that social support, right? So we really kind of believed that you needed to be around other shopbackers. Obviously, with the pandemic, we had to change that paradigm. Everyone around the world had to do that, right? Going from fully being in the office to now having to be fully remote. And that affected not just how we operated, and we had to change some of our policies, our processes, but also affected the social connections we had with other shopbackers. And so what we were observing was that I think there were people, some are going through the pandemic in different ways, right? Some are isolated from their family, haven't seen their families for a while, so feeling maybe a sense of isolation, feeling a sense of loneliness. Some haven't seen their teams in a long time, so they also are not sure how to operate with some of their team members. Some of that had led to some tensions or some minor conflict, right? And then you also see other folks going through probably more serious issues, right? And I think we noted on these things, and these were going to be challenges that in the past, maybe if you have people around in your support networks in the office or in person, maybe you could have ameliorated that. We sense as a team some of these issues, and then we're looking at different ways of addressing it. So as a leader in the team, I think one of my priorities during COVID was to get a sensing of the ground, what were some of the challenges people were going through, and trying to preemptively address some of those needs before they become full-blown issues. I think one of the key sentiments we were getting a sense of at that time through employee engagement surveys and as well as one-to-one conversations were around isolation, loneliness, even fear of for their people's well-being, their own families' well-being. Some people were also bored at home. So there's an array of different issues I think we were sensing, and I think that was affecting also how people performed at work and their relations with other colleagues. And as a result, I think wanting to find a solution to that led us to explore different platforms, different ways of delivering care at scale. And that's where we chanced upon Intellect as a technical solution that could help us actually scale sort of individualized care to our shopbackers. So I think having a human being, that was what people I think desired at that point in time, especially after months of being in some form of lockdown or what you want to call that. I think people wanted a bit more of that human touch, and that's where I think the Intellect platform really provided that for us. Typically, I think I imagine if I'm in another company and my employer comes and says, hey, we've got this mental wellness solution, please sign up for it. I might think twice before I actually come on board, and because I might be thinking in my head, is this data going to be used in some way that I didn't intend it to be used? So I think for us, where we helped to address that concern were twofold. Right? One was getting the Intellect team to help us with that education process, and I think second approach was to show to people that it was okay to say that you're not okay, right? I think having people, myself included, sharing our own struggles and how we use the tool, I think maybe helped to normalize that this is actually not something that should be stigmatized, right? And that's something that is really here to help you. It's not meant to find any issue, any fault. Rather than bottling it up, keeping it inside, and then maybe having an implosion later on, I think it's helpful that people recognize that it's okay to look for some kind of help. The way that you might, if you're sneezing and you might have a cough, go see a doctor, right? I think rather than waiting until you really need help, I think people now recognize that, okay, if I see certain symptoms of whether it's burnout, whether it's not being able to sleep well, I have something I can use already to preemptively address that. So I think if other business leaders are considering using Intellect, maybe a few considerations first as they think about it. I think one thing to if you're going to go into that, you need to be authentic in your intention of that. Because I think at the end of the day, it has to stem from first principles, and whether you see this as an issue that you want to solve for the business, for the company, right? And I think based on that, then deciding how to engage a platform like Intellect to solve those challenges that you might have. For us at ShopBack, I think we value people. I mean, this is, in some ways, people are the key resource in a tech company. And I think we also recognize that the industry still moves very fast. So it's not so easy to tell people, let's take a 1 month, 2 month holiday, right? It's also not feasible. So, but how can we best still enable and support people in this journey that we're going on? And I think based on that, the Intellect tool was a great choice for us.